Thanks. If I may, I once again will give the panel the prerogative to ask the first question. Is there anything you heard in the other presentations that you'd like to ask about, or any questions you'd like to pose one another? Please be first.
It's quite well acknowledged that Spain, in terms of already established infrastructures in terms of geospatial activities, particularly for in-spine implementation, is one of the best practices. I don't know if you want to say the secret to achieve this.
Yes, the secret is that we set a very close cooperation with the National Geographic Institute. We gathered the needs of a number of entities of public administrations who discovered the potential and interest on complementing the information they provided in their websites with the geographical information. And then, well, the rest came by the hands of the cloud technology, open source, and open standards. Well, the service is, as I have mentioned, is very interesting because it's a very, very easy way in which public administrations can include the geographical information and the maps in their websites and applications, because it was discovered at some moment in time that there were different efforts and developments. It's always the same, reinventing the wheel, and we try to, through this cooperation and using technologies, to offer this service that, in the end, is quite simple. For the moment, the coverage, the geographic coverage is Spain, through the maps of the National Geographic Institute or the maps of Google Maps. There is work ongoing to migrate into open layers. And what I have been told by the experts of the National Geographic Institute is about the interest of having something like this, with the possibility of providing the geographical information throughout Europe, including the whole Europe, and using the three kinds of maps, which thematic, with areas, or location reference information, or through location referenced values. And that's the secret. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Would you like to say something about your secret?
I don't have any secrets, actually. Thanks. I did actually have a question. I was just going to ask how you're going to measure this, or how you measure the success of your project and how many people take it up, that kind of thing.
It's always a difficult part because generally when you have to write a proposal asking for funds from several programs of European Commission, there is a part in which you have to specify very precisely how you are going to achieve your impacts and how you are going to quantitatively measure them. But this is something that is generally made at the last minute, so it is not very well, there is not a very well architecture behind that. But apart from that, so without thinking to physical indicators to measure and to make happy the reviewers, I think that the success is that there is a consortium of 18 partners coming from several member states, all of them committed to adopt this common data model they contributed to build, according to your lessons, starting from detecting the needs, as a common ground, on top of which some technological partners are going to develop services in order to serve the needs of the utilities, for instance, or from the energy refurbishment, energy efficiency refurbishment companies. So I think that the best answer can come at the end of the project, end of next year, in which we will have some as the famous quantitative indicators, the number of apps developed, the terabyte exchanged, the number of administrations reusing what we are going to developing, and the number of citizens which will be happy of all these services set up ultimately for them. So probably at the next conference I can provide the numbers.
If I have the opportunity, I would like to ask Katie how they manage in the United Kingdom to react so quickly to trends and to manage all these initiatives and produce results quickly in complex environments and with complex problems. Thanks.
That's a really good question. I think there's many different factors, and on different projects it will be different. But definitely the thing that helps is having the team and all of the stakeholders there when we're actually making our thing. So making gov.uk, we have policy advisors, we have people who are buying things for us, we have people who are really working on the infrastructure, we have people like me, 6 user researchers, we have designers, we have everyone there, so we can bring things back when we find them out. When we do the user research, we can come back to the team and say, we found this out, and prioritize there and then. And because we work in an agile way, we can put that into the next 2-week sprint or the next 4-week sprint, whatever it might be. And I think that's really, I would say, at the heart of the key to success. There's many other factors too, but that's definitely at the heart. And then the second is just going out and speaking to people. So having that regular contact with our users. Every 2 weeks, we will definitely show gov.uk to users. And on my previous project with the digital marketplace, every 2 weeks we were speaking to buyers or suppliers of those services, coming in, seeing our product, and feeding that back into the team.
Okay, we're going to take some questions from the audience. And you folks in the back of the room, I'm really sorry to embarrass you like this, but we've not yet heard from you yet. Is there anyone in the back of the room who would like to ask a question? The gentleman there, and I'll come down for this. Here you are.
My name is Nicola Guarino from Italian National Research Council. This session is about ensuring the last link. Now, to ensure the last link, we need to ground our services in something which is visible, which has an effect. One of the reasons why initiatives in the geospatial domain have been so successful is that it is easy to ground geospatial data into things that people can see. For instance, it was easy for the gentleman showing that picture to see that actually we mean these pipes on the street. Unfortunately, for other kind of domain, grounding the meaning of data, the meaning of our terms so easily is impossible because you know, we are dealing with intangible domains when we talk of different kinds of services. And so the question is, how can we actually make this link real? And in order to make these things real, we have to make sure that our services do have a legal effect. A legal effect. And people have been mentioning the legal gaps previously in the previous section. To me, not enough effort is being spent in making sure that, for instance, current core vocabularies do actually mean something from the legal persons. The terms we use have a legal effect for our public administrations. It seems to me that the core vocabularies are a bit too, let's say, approximate to make sense for people working in legal, for legal experts in public administration. So ultimately, in order to make the result of the public service actually having a legal effect, there is a gap to be filled.
Thank you. And I'm going to keep coming back here. Are there any more questions from the back of the room? You guys have gotten off way too easily today. No one over there? Come on, you can't all be reading your emails. Who? The gentleman here. Thank you. Are you ready?
Thank you. Erwan Legal, French Ministry of Education. I'm a technical expert, especially in accessibility in sense of a handicapped person. I have a common question to Katie Taylor and Mr. D'Annunzio. Did you test the maps with a blind person, for example? Mr. D'Annunzio.
Thank you. Anyone else in the back of the room? Here. Thank you.
Sarah Yelston from Norway. A question really to Katie, I think, and it was, have you tested, say, for example, British people living in Europe about using services that are British services? Is it just not possible at the moment?
Okay, thank you. We'll go back to the panel now, and you can start without me. I'll catch up with you, Katie.
Okay, my memory, I'm going to take the last one first, if that's all right. We do research on our services with users for whatever users. So we go out and find the users of the service and do research based on real tasks with real people. So far, we haven't done any that I'm aware of, although I should ask my cross-government UK government mailing list to ask them. They might have done some without me knowing. In Europe, we have done lots of research on people applying for visas in the UK, so cross borders that way, so people outside, not UK citizens applying for visas. And we've done different types of research in the UK with different groups of people. But I'm not sure if you've done any of that yet. If I go straight on to the accessibility question, it's actually in our service standard that that services have to be, we have to do user research with users who have different types of confidence and accessibility to the internet. So there's two things there. There's different ways of accessing the internet and different accessibility needs. So yes, we have done research with people who are partially sighted or blind or who have hearing difficulties. Often we ask those people to come to us. We either go and see them in their own homes so we can see them using their assistive technology with the website, or we go and we ask them to bring their own laptops into us and we have them in the lab and they can then use our site with their technology. And we see how it goes from there. There's actually a really great video that I would show you if we weren't being filmed of someone using our passport service who is blind, and she's really able to use it with the screen reader turned on. She can fill in all the form, but when she gets to the bit with her passport number, she needs to ask the moderator to get the passport number off her passport because she can't read it off the passport. I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, I will start with the first question. Indeed, the nature of geospatial information makes it quite visible and interesting, and especially if it is adapted to websites, applications, and mobile devices. In relation to the work that has been mentioned, In fact, there is a lot of work to do. There is work ongoing. It's true that in many cases the semantic structures are behind the scene and the end user is hidden in relation to those concepts. But what I can say is that increasingly these data structures and concepts are appearing in the field of the legislations. In our experience, we have a number of dispositions and interoperability agreements which include in the annexes XML schemas and definition of data structures, which is something of our time, but probably if we go back in time not so long ago, it could be considered something quite different or strange. And the fact is that we are doing now, in terms of legislation, in the field of information technologies and communications and in the field of e-government, the kind of developments that have been done by public administrations in other fields through a number of years. I am thinking about buildings, buildings and telecoms, telecommunications, and things like that. So we are doing new things with legislation and information technologies, and there is some way ahead to do many things. In relation to the question about the accessibility and the service, I should check with the experts. We are usually quite careful. We run an accessibility observatory, but I have sent the message, so I should check with the experts of the application if they have run the tests of the application with the accessibility requirements. Thanks.
I think there were no specific questions to me. I'm from the geospatial sector, so I am in the lucky side of the world.
Can I add another bit?
Yes, please, if it's short.
Yeah, I can. We often have projects that we're working on which involve some abstract concepts. And the way that we test them, or the way that we go out and see users with them, is by trying to make a prototype where we think that data would be used. So it would be a real service with the real data in it. And if it's so abstract that we can't do that, well then we wouldn't do user research. But we always try to make something real and think, actually, do we know who our users are? And what are they doing with this data? And that's what we always come back to. Who are our users? And what are they doing? And what do they think about it? And so we always try and root the things in real life.
Okay, thank you. We have exactly 32 seconds left, so I risk going over time by posing you one last question. But since we've asked the same question of all the previous panels, I'm going to take the liberty of asking you. Sure, two things. One is, what would you like to leave behind from this discussion? And instead of just answering questions, put one to these guys. What challenge would you like to leave for the folks who came here today?
Like George Clooney says when knocks on the door where the party is taking place, for me, no data, no party.
Okay, I think I am more serious, and and the take-home message is, as I have mentioned, that we have to pay attention to provide global solutions for geospatial information in Europe, and that's why we supported that the ISA² Work Program would have a section on geospatial services and information.
For me, it would just be, do you really know who your users are? And do you know their needs? Go and do some user research.
Okay, thank you for that.